Okay, now we're going to start actually writing the case, and we're going to begin with the value. Now, before I tell you how to choose a value, first let's review why we need values in the first place. And I've already talked about this, but I want to just give a little overview in case you've forgotten. So LD, again, is a values debate, and in pretty much every LD round, you have this ultimate concept that you value, and you consider that value to be higher and more important than any and all other possible values that you could possibly hold to be important. So this value, this is the most important thing that we care about. This is the one most important thing. We need this thing, this value. Then you decide that whichever side of the resolution leads you to the value, leads you to that most important value, must therefore be the most important side of the resolution. If this value is the most important thing, if it's the thing we want no matter what, then whatever side gets us this most important thing is the best side. That's how LD works. And so to debate LD, you need to have a value in your case. So you need to present a value of your own and argue that it's the one important thing that we should all consider. Then you argue that since your side leads to that value, you should win. So to do that, we have to choose a value, which is what this video is all about. So we're going to choose a value. What does it mean to value something? It means to place worth on something. It means you treat it with importance, so that your value is more important than all other things. You value it the most. This is sort of your ultimate value. The ultimate value really is what we mean when we say value in LD. Your value is also sometimes called your end goal. The end thing you want is the most important thing. Your value is the end goal. These are all questions you can ask yourself about what is a value. Another thing to note here, values are always going to be abstract nouns, okay? Your value is going to be an abstract noun. And it's going to be a little bit more vague. The more concrete part comes later when we get to the criteria, but I'm getting ahead of myself. Anyway, going back to the value. Your value in LD is literally the reason why your side of the resolution is better, according to you. Your value is the reason why your side is better. So if you're debating some kind of resolution like privacy versus national security, and your side's national security, you might say, my value is safety. National security is best because it keeps us safe. The value is the reason why national security is best. In LD, you have this value. Because you value it, you're led to advocate for your side. So you need to pick some kind of abstract noun to value that you can use to win the debate. So obviously, then, your side of the resolution has to lead to your value, whether you're affirmative or negative. It has to lead to your value. If your side of the resolution does not lead to a value, something is very, very wrong, because that breaks the whole way LD works. Because again, the whole idea behind LD is because my side leads to this value, it should be upheld. If your side does not lead to that value, you have a very big problem. It makes absolutely no sense. You also want to make sure the other side doesn't lead to your value, because if you're affirmative and you say my side leads to this value, but actually the negative side leads to that value, that actually means your opponent should win. If the other side of the resolution leads to your value, you have a huge problem, because according to the logic of LD, that means your opponent should win, and that's really not good. The value is supposed to let the judge know why to vote for you based on your value, not why to vote for your opponent. So if the other side leads to your value, the judge might actually choose the other side using your own value. So make sure only your side leads to your value. Now, you might be tempted here to do a little trick. You might say, wait, what if I make the value my side of the resolution? Because obviously my side leads to my side. Fair trade leads to fair trade. Why don't I just make fair trade my value for affirmative? And this is actually a huge mistake. Your value should not be a word from the resolution. Don't make your value a word from the resolution. Why? Well, some people do this, but it's not ideal because it creates a circular argument. And we're going to talk more about this later, but basically, if the value is the reason why your side should be upheld, so if your value is the reason why fair trade should be upheld, then you're literally saying by making your value fair trade should be upheld because of fair trade. That just doesn't make sense. It's actually a logical fallacy. We're going to talk about that more in this section on rebuttals. But just don't do that. So you want your value not to be your side of the resolution. So what is your value then? To determine what your value should be, you basically want to think of a one-word answer as to why the judges should vote for your side of the resolution. Think about why you believe your side of the resolution is the best. Basically, what you have to do is ask why. You ask why, and you ask it over and over and over again until you get to some kind of foundational truth. For example, let's look at the privacy versus national security resolution. Why should privacy be valued above national security? You might say, well, privacy should be valued above national security because the government shouldn't spy on us. Okay, why shouldn't the government spy on us? Why not? Why shouldn't the government spy on us? And you might say, well, it makes me feel uncomfortable. Okay, great. Why does that make you feel uncomfortable? And you might say, because that violates trust. Ding, ding, ding. Your value can be trust. You've asked why over and over, and you've gotten to this foundational truth that trust is something that needs to be valued. And that's why privacy should be valued above national security, because of this value of trust, which you believe in. So just think about why you personally believe the resolution at your side to be true. Then take your answer, keep asking why over and over, why you believe that. Why, till you can't get any further. And then look at what you have, and you probably have your value somewhere in there. So for fair trade above free trade, if you're on fair trade, why should fair trade be valued above free trade? Sometimes it also helps if you turn the question around. Why should fair trade not be valued above free trade, or something like that? You can change the question if you need to. And in the end, the fundamental reason that you get at the end after asking why, your answer, that's your value. And again, I want to really emphasize here, make your value what you believe in. Don't just run a value because you heard someone else run a value, because you heard someone else say, oh, you know what, this would be a good value. And you say, oh yeah. Don't necessarily do that. Try this asking why on your own, because you have to really believe in your value and understand what you're saying. And it has to come from you. Otherwise, you just won't be as persuasive enough, because people are going to attack your case. They are going to attack your value. And if it doesn't come from you and you don't believe in it, you're not going to be able to stand. If you don't believe in it yourself, you will unconsciously do a worse job of arguing your case. So anyway, at this point, I want you to find your value. So what I've done is I've put a handout on the class website. You'll see it underneath the video. It's a handout with instructions, step-by-step instructions on how to make your case. So we've actually already done step 1, which is finding preliminary definitions. Finding the value is steps 2 and 3. So I want you to when this video is over, get that handout out, walk through steps 2 and 3. Why don't you start with your affirmative case for now, okay? Start with your affirmative case. We have to write 2 cases. Just start with one of them. Or you could start with your negative case too. You just pick one of your cases to work on as we go throughout this video. I'm primarily going to be referencing free trade throughout this video, which is a negative side. You can do either side. Just work through this, and then at the end we'll go back and we'll do the other case as well. But for now, just focus on one case. So pick one side and start writing the outline. Work through steps 2 and 3 in the instructions. That'll help you. That will walk you through getting your value. And remember, this is just an outline. You don't have to write this out word for word yet. It doesn't have to be polished. It just needs to be an outline. It just needs to be written there. So pull up a Microsoft Word document on your computer and go ahead and find your value. And then we'll move on to preparing your criterion and what that means.